The swing. Welcome
I've
to
been
the
in the
real.
building all day. So
Welcome
bear
to
with
the real on parenting, where life gets real unexpectedly, and we got to just keep rolling. But as two women who are used to being professionals and used to adapting to changes, we still can get a little ticked off about
me.
about
Yes.
how things go. So, welcome to the real on parenting. I am your co-host, Coach Kiana Shaw, and this is my girl.
Therapist Danielle.
You look so irritated.
This is about force my Joker smile.
That's all right. We're gonna keep pushing because we know that this is how life goes sometimes.
Mm.
All right. So, how are you doing? Let's check in. How you doing?
I've made it through the day, so I'm okay. I'm
Okay.
okay. How about you? How
I
about you?
listen, I am parenting and co-parenting felony free. I think I'm doing good.
You're doing great. That's always a great status. Okay.
I feel like I'm like super close to the camera. Like back up, just taste. All right. We have a letter that we're gonna address today. Thank you for writing in. If you want to send us a letter, something that you want us to address, just email us at therealonparenting@gmail.com. We are happy to read your letter and address whatever the issue is. What we will not do is go back and forth with you in email, like, because we get paid for that, right? So
In no formal way, no way of
if you are looking for
communication.
the free resource, you got to just bring it to the real on parenting because we do this part just for y'all, right? This is our community give back. All right. That being said, so here's what the letter says, Danielle. So this is about underage drinking,
Mm.
right? We're
Okay.
talking about 13-year olds. And
Realistic, unfortunately.
yes, but I remember sneaking a drink at this age. I
Not
remember
me. My mama's crazy.
what
Mm-mm.
I was at my
Not at
friend's house
13.
though. I was at my
I
friend's
was at
house.
my friend's house too, and I just knew my mama knew that level
She
of
probably
fear. Go
did.
ahead,
She probably did. But the reason why I want to do this letter because her take on it was like, should I address this? And I was just like, yeah. So I'm gonna read the
Mm-mm.
letter,
Okay.
but not just address it with your daughter. Like I have more to say on that. So let's read this. Dear Real on Parenting, I need some strategic advice. Now remember, you asked for this. Okay. You
It's
asked
gonna
for
be
this.
strategic.
Okay. I had two cans of a premix of a vodka drink in the fridge a couple of hours before I took my daughter to her friends. I just dropped her off, and as she was getting out of the car, she said, "I've got Sprite cans in my sleeves, makes me look jacked," and she flexed. And I laughed and shook my head. Came home, went into the fridge to find something for lunch, and the two cans are gone. The box was hidden behind the trash can. She's taken them, no doubt. I choose not to stress. I'm kind of amused at the audacity. But she's got to pay and learn. I'm thinking of going down the road and buying a cheap, nasty bottle of vodka and sitting with her at home and making her drink it until she vomits and passes out. You know, the old cigar and drawback that parents threatened us with. But it's only my first thought. I had my first drink when I was 13 and I had a great time, no danger. I know she's at a good friend's house, but she stole and lied and is drinking. Please give me your strategic advice. Baby, listen. I'm sorry. Did you want to go first, Danielle?
I think we could just tag team, because there
Okay,
are
good. Thank you for
there's
signing my
just
permission slip. Let's go.
we
So
have a default. We have our default thoughts, and let's just roll with them. Obviously, they're going to be respectful, but we're going to be realistic at the same time.
okay.
Your side eye. We're going to be respectful,
Respectfully,
but we're going to be
respectfully,
real.
as
Yes.
the parent of an 11-year-old, as as a person who did drink, right? when I was younger. I want to first say that your amusement is concerning because if you were to bring your daughter to my house and she had alcohol and you didn't call me to tell me that our daughters, because you may be amused, I am not. I am actually pissed off at reading the letter. So in the event that it actually happened, I am not likely to laugh with you
Right.
after an encounter. I'm likely to laugh at you. Please understand what I'm saying.
We got the message.
So you have not called me. You have not called this parent because I'm gonna take me out of it because I'm clearly triggered. You have not called
Right.
this parent to say, "Hey, my daughter took some alcohol from my house, and I want you to know because the girls might be over there getting drunk.
Right.
They might be over there trying to pretend like they grown,
Right.
and that could be an issue because
It is
alcohol
an issue.
poisoning is real.
And it is.
Your daughter bringing alcohol to my house, that level of disrespect is real, and I would treat it as such." Now, when I find out that you knew and you never addressed it, you got a different level of ignorance coming from me. Let me rephrase that because it's not ignorance. But you do have a different level of what the hell coming from me. And it might look like law enforcement showing up at your door because why would you not? Because the minute you didn't tell me, you are condoning the foolishness
Right.
of these minors.
Right.
I know I think delinquency is the word. I said foolishness, but both it's interchangeable. Why would you not immediately call that lady? Call
Right.
those parents.
Right.
Go ahead, Danielle, because I feel like I got more to say, but I
I know
need to
you
catch my
do.
words.
So, first and foremost, we all parent differently and we all have different personal experiences. But just
Hmm.
because we've had a personal experience at that via age, what
Right,
year was that? 19 what? Correct. This is what year? And it doesn't make it right. It doesn't justify it. It doesn't make it if within the norm, if you will, in regards to what you did and because you had a positive time without any safety risks. Well, good for
right,
you in that moment. But let's fast forward to right now. There's a couple of things. So, first and foremost, the fact that you are questioning what should you do, the fact that it
it's
didn't
given. I'm
come
scared of my child. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm listening.
the fact that it didn't come on the radar to even contact the parent, that is very, very concerning.
Yes,
As just because you're okay for the most part. So let me say this. I'm not saying that, well, no, you are. Um, I was about to say I'm not saying you're giving her the green light, but clearly you're giving her all the lights that it is okay be by way of your action.
right.
So your default was go, and actually your default thought actually made me think of the Cosby Show when he made him smoke the cigar, and it's like,
I
kind of
don't
like that
remember a cigar one. I
selflessness.
just remember the one where Vanessa was drinking.
Or was it drinking or smoking? It would have been a couple of ones, but it just maybe went to the Cosby Show. And, it's kind of like those natural consequences, those results of consuming something that's toxic, let alone for a child.
Right,
So there are natural consequences, but however, let's bring it back. My first thought or question to you is, have you had a conversation with your daughter about drinking, about smoking? And it doesn't
right,
mean just because you had that conversation, it's just going to say, hey, mom, guess what? No, 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 no. But at least as a parent, on your end, you have addressed what's okay, what's not okay, what's respectful, what's not respectful, what is allowed, what's not allowed, and the parameters around that. If that
right.
discussion has not been made or had, it needs to happen now, even more so now. the level of disrespect that you just assumed that just because you had a good time at 13 and you made it a point to not contact that parent or even go over there. The
Right.
minute, the
While your
second,
daughter done
wow,
committed a whole heist from your kitchen.
the second that I would have put two and two together, and clearly, like you said, that you know that she took them because you didn't put the box behind the trash can. It didn't walk behind there. The minute I wouldn't even had a complete thought before I was in the car and I'm turning that corner, to go back to the
Listen,
house.
because
And,
it's
and,
my
and while
kid
I'm
over here
sitting
acting up. You're not finna
there,
go out here and misrepresent me.
exactly. And it's a representation of you as a parent. Whether you condoned it or not, it's a representation of you. So
Now
you,
well, okay, because kids
by
just do
default,
stuff.
by default, like
Yeah, yeah.
example, by
Because no,
default,
yeah, people do
when
blame the
a
parents no matter what. Yeah.
by default, despite, and then we kind of backtrack when we get the information, but by default, it's like, oh, where are your mom at? Where are your parents?
Facts.
Do they know? So the fact that you didn't be in that corner while calling, that's concerning as well. And then even if they didn't answer, then You're knocking on that door and it's
Yeah,
saying,
because they somewhere where I can get access because they got my kids. So yeah, we can get in. We sorry.
so that as being a cautious parent, but a parent that's making it a point to make a active decision in regards to the safety of their own child, let alone someone else's child.
Right. And talking about like because you're talking about like the impact, right? The effects of alcohol. Aside from the fact, even when you're an adult, alcohol is damaging to your brain, right? There are studies that show that it increases the risk of Alzheimer's. Um, there are things, but to a developing brain,
Right, right.
to a developing body, especially during adolescence, this is not healthy.
It's not healthy at all. And it's not okay. So,
Yeah.
given as being a therapist who works with children of all ages, but even more so lately, the tweens and adolescents and the
Mhm.
adults, I think they're adults because they're 18 and 19. Anyways, but once again, their access to a lot of things is very, 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 very young. And her being bold, she was real bold. But I won't even
Right.
say that. I will say this. Our kids do try us. Don't we understand that? Don't get us wrong. However, how you respond to that really, really impacts the next attempt or even thought about trying to do something. And
Right. Because
so,
I was just like,
given
she said that she was
the
amused.
there's no amusement with that. That is what in the world. And let me say this. Maybe this is a mom who maybe she needed to take a moment because I call it when you start seeing colors, that's where you just pause on parenting because you're not present with what you're doing and what you're saying. So maybe she needed to pause. I'm not saying she saw colors, but maybe she's one of those people. But however, there is that part of how we respond as parents to our children when they are doing things that's obviously not okay, but especially this understanding that the developmental phase that they're in
Right.
is very, very impactful to the next thing, if you will. So having that communication or conversation with her, let's say, let's just jump to the fact that she's home, okay? Because that would have been a whole situation in itself.
So
I want to
wait.
know, is she even friends with the girl anymore? Anyways, like because as me as being the mother of the friend, they would no longer be friends
Right, because you just
immediately.
disrespected my home. And even if my daughter said, "Hey, come get this or bring me some alcohol," you still brought it
The
to
fact
my
that you
house.
didn't call exactly the fact that you
Now,
didn't
my
call.
daughter is not off the hook in this. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I
Right,
want to be clear
right.
with that because when your friend disrespects our home, you're supposed to be like, "Hey, mom, this is what's going on here." Send me a text, come to my room. I'm there because I don't allow people to be at my house when I'm not here, right? So if your friend is here, I am here. Come let me know what's going on. That is the responsibility of the child whose home this is. However, as a mom, I'm thinking there are some legal ramifications for this. I mentioned the health ramifications that are possible, right? There has to be some sort of consequence for these actions, including the social consequences, right? Because now y'all can't be friends. And
Right.
because of the level of trouble my child gonna be in, she ain't gonna want to be your friend.
Right. No, exactly. Exactly. Because it comes down to a level of self-respect. So it doesn't mean that they're not going to experiment because we've all been there. But
Right.
however, within that experiment, everybody has been raised different. I can't speak to that
I will
part.
say
Everybody's
everybody
been
but
raised
you
different.
because you knew Miss Donna was going.
Girl. Anyway, this is before a ring, bell, and camera even existed, but she knew. But but also we are and have been mischievous. Totally
Mm-hmm.
get it. But it's the aspect as the parent. It
Yeah.
is your responsibility to communicate with that parent first and
Yeah.
foremost. And like I think, and I've had where a situation where this actually would not relate to alcohol, but there were some behaviors that were displayed, and my daughter was amongst it, and I had to call a friend of mine because her daughter was involved in it. But and granted, it's a very uncomfortable conversation. But when you're an
Right.
adult and
That's
you're
the
the parent, it has
worst.
nothing to do with uncomfortable. It is for the protection and safety of the children
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you are the adult. So get out of yourself and do what is healthy and safe for the children. So a call to that mom or dad should have been done immediately while you were en route back to the residence.
Because you got to go pick up your child. Like you
Exactly.
can't let that slide.
Yes.
And her mindset of, go get some vodka and make her drink it or whatever. Now you introducing alcohol poisoning to your own child. Like outside of this, like you want to go get the cheap vodka. So you ain't even working with premium, right? I was about to say the name of a vodka and I had to catch myself because
Yeah.
we're not gonna talk about brands, but the dangers of that, if we being honest, the
Right.
dangers of saying, okay, I am going to make my child drink until she gets sick. Now she did say this was her first thought, so I
Right. Right.
respect that. Okay, you thought it and then
It's a
you moved
thought.
on from
Right.
it.
Right. You kind of
Hopefully,
pulled back.
hopefully you moved on from it. I'm assuming you moved on from it because I don't know you, but there is a level of audacity here that has to be addressed, right? Um, you stole from my home, our home, but you knew that what you took was mine.
Right.
If it
You
was
knew it
only
wasn't
two of
yours.
them and you took two, you wasn't even worried about if I had one for my own consumption. So you're not off the hook on this. I don't think that this level of audacity can be admired. I think that there is a level of responsibility that has to be implemented immediately, right? And that comes with the consequences. Because when you are sneaking and lying,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that is scheming type of thing. Because you had to plan that out.
I would say it's planned.
How
Yeah.
what were the first thought that you were going to take it? How were you going to get it out the house? Okay, so you done made Sprite cans. But
Right.
how her mama let her get away with that? Like, girl, what
Right.
take them out your
And
shoulders before
so,
you go into
right.
this lady house.
And for her to say that she took so soda cans and put them in her sleeve so she can look jacked. So then my next question is, well, is she athletic? Because if you ain't never seen them jack muscles before and all of a sudden they popped up,
Well,
I'm
I'm
like, well,
assuming she was doing the whole Popeye thing. You know what I'm
let
saying?
me
But
see the jack muscle that magically appeared. that is my question. I need to
But
see
she
it because
said
I've
that
never
she
seen it
told her
before.
mom that she had Sprite cans. So I'm assuming mom just assumed it was in fact Sprite. You're not in trouble for taking Sprite to your friend's
Why are
house
they in your jacket? See,
because that's how you look jacked, Danielle. That was the
you
whole
ain't look
purpose. She was
and maybe
trying to.
that's just how that's how my brain works. So I'm like, well, let me see the jacked soda can that you're
Right.
referring to.
Exactly.
Because that's
Because you
odd
clearly
behavior.
hiding
That because
something.
it's odd behavior. That do you
Yeah.
walk around going to school talking about I got my jacked prime girl?
Right. So while you're impressed with her audacity, I'm concerned about her accountability because this is not this is at 13, hell, at 16, this is not something that you can just allow to just go forward. Like, oh, we just gonna move on. This has to be addressed. Now, do you have to punish her severely? That's up to you. That's based on how your child is, what you
Right.
think. Like I would probably punish my child severely, right? Like you on complete punishment, no TV, I'm taking phones, like everything is
Well,
off.
there's
The
this
internet is
because
off, the refrigerator is off, the iron is like the lights are, let me unscrew these light bulbs, like everything is off if
but
you
I'll say
playing with
this:
me.
we all use different wording differently. So for you may use punishment. For me, I use consequence. So you have
Okay.
displayed a behavior that shows me that I cannot trust you.
Right.
So
And I don't think that that's laughable. My concern is that she's
yeah,
laughing it off. I don't like that.
it's a very serious matter. And actually, I didn't finish my thought from earlier, but it's a serious matter because
Sorry.
if she's no, not you, girl, me, but if she's bold enough and she's shown that she is to take alcohol from the home, first of all, that's not hers, but take alcohol from the home, I'm going to tell you, mom, there is a likely chance that she's already done other things.
Hello.
And the access to those other things is very, very easy through school. There's
Yeah.
dealers at school. The kids know who the dealers are, from vapes to pens to wax to, and I can go on and on. And I'm
Mhm.
speaking from a place of being a therapist that the children are having to come to because the parents finally realized, or the school called them and told them, and they're like, what? So just know that any drug, any alcohol is a gateway to something
Absolutely.
else.
And it's a lot of parents who don't believe that. They don't believe that marijuana or alcohol is are gateway drugs, right? I've even had parents argue it with me and go, "Well, sugar is even worse." Okay, and that's why we don't allow our kids to just eat candy all day. Like we limit consumptions
We're
as a parent,
supposed to.
right?
What this was we're supposed to. There's supposed to be limits and there's supposed to be boundaries,
Exactly.
and
And
structure.
I growing up, I remember we had friends whose parents were okay with us drinking, right? Like they were okay with their kid drinking. Um, no, none of them crossed the line to allow us to drink outside of like maybe us taking a sip. But we like you weren't get drunk at these people's houses. But it's not okay to say it's okay for my child to drink, so therefore it's okay for your child to drink. In
Right.
those
And
situations,
if you're she's saying, I didn't say that, your actions or lack
right.
of
The lack of
insinuates that.
reporting to the parent
Right,
when you
right,
know that they have alcohol is you
right,
saying, kids will be kids.
right. And
No.
that's the concerning, and that's the very, very concerning aspect. Um,
Yes.
so with that, there could be peer pressure. It could be where your daughter is the person like, guess what I got? And then that her friend feeling like she needs to, or vice versa, you know,
Yeah.
or it could be both of them, wanting to indulge, if you will. But so kind of just you get the point on that part. First of all, you should have contacted the mother. That's just what it is. That's what you should have done. That's your responsibility as a parent, where it's your child bringing something into someone else's house. That's first of all illegal. And who's to say what's going to happen or what didn't happen during that time from his intoxication? Then we have a report. So you just don't know.
Yeah.
It can create this unfortunate snowball effect.
And what, because you mentioned peer pressure, um, I'm like, what's influencing your daughter to take it over there? It could be the other girl, right?
It
But
could
is
be,
it like, is
yeah.
it just not just, is it the social pressure? Is it the thrill of doing something that is forbidden? You could dig into how peer influence affects decisions.
Mhm.
Um, but I am very big on, as parents, we stand strong in our guidance of our kids. Now, there are a lot of parents who go, you're overthinking it. Your kids are going to do whatever. Perfectly fine. People only have an issue with you guiding your children when as it relates to something that makes them uncomfortable, like they don't want to be called out on their stuff. I'm gonna call you out on your foolishness. These are kids. They are underage drinking. I don't care if they're 18 or 19. They are underage drinking, and you cannot let that slide. There's too many variables, especially with licensed teens. They have their driver's license and they're having just a sip, just a sip. Well, listen, I am an adult woman, and one glass of wine can put me down.
I just sniff it. I'm just saying. Learn my
So,
limits
because
real quick, but
everyone's
I'm just saying.
tolerance level is different. And again, I think about alcohol poisoning because if I can be loaded off of one glass of wine and these kids got two whole cans,
Right.
and I don't know what the drink was. So eh, maybe
But
it has a
still,
little
it
bit of
ain't
juice in it.
water. Okay. It ain't soda nor apple juice.
Right.
So,
And you don't get to choose that for my home. That's the part that pisses me off. You don't get to choose for my home what's okay. You don't get to say, well, your daughter is with my daughter and they're fine. Like
right.
the dismissal of I had a drink when I was their age
It
and
don't
I
make it
was
right.
fine, no danger. Yes, it was. It was danger. But when you get away with it, you fail to see, right? You have blind spots because you could have walked out and just not been alert enough to somebody walking behind you,
Hmm.
right? We think that the danger is, oh, it was no danger because we was at the house and um nobody was drinking and driving. But there could be an older brother, a cousin, an uncle, an auntie, or who
Right.
decides everybody's under the influence, so now I can take advantage.
And unfortunately, that happens frequently.
Right. And we because we coach and you I coach and you what is it called? I was gonna say
Right. Therapy.
therapize. I was like therapize.
We
Because
are
we deal
providing
with this all the
therapy.
time, we have
Yes.
a
And
different
it's
aspect of
real
the seriousness of
and it's
it. Yeah, and
happening.
it just angered
Yes.
me. This whole letter pissed me off. It
Yeah.
did.
So, and I'll say this, and not from a rude place, but from a real place where you feel that this was amusing or whatever the word you chose for it. I'm going to say, don't be shocked when you find wrappers. Don't be shocked when you find pins. Don't be shocked when you find residue. Don't be shocked
Yeah, because it's coming.
because if more than likely there are things that experiment, if you will, because I would call this under experimentation, that she has more than likely she's experienced experimented with other things. So then to the next thing, a conversation needs to happen.
Yes.
And not asking, oh, did you take? No, why? Why did you feel it was okay for, first of all, you to take alcohol, but second of all, to take anything from this house without permission?
Because the
So,
stealing is gonna aggravate me.
right. So it lets me know as a therapist, know that this was not the first time that she has taken something. Granted, it may have been alcohol, but she's taken something from you before without
Yeah.
permission. And
Right.
the thing is, what parents do not accept or realize is that they think, oh, at 5 and 6 and 7, oh, that's okay. Oh, it's okay. And then when they turn 10, when they turn 11, now it's a problem. No, it was a problem
Right.
at 6. And the lack of acknowledging and addressing that behavior, and the behavior being noncompliance, the behavior being defiant, the behavior being just not okay. But within that, it shows that lack of disrespect. But having that conversation and having those proper consequences to address that specific behavior, it
Hmm.
doesn't miraculously appear at 13 because now it's alcohol.
Right.
It should have been addressed beforehand before we even got to the alcohol.
And I think that aside from this parent, I'm talking to all the other parents because her views are hers, but I want to talk to parents who are in the middle of this that may not necessarily know what to do. Start with discussing the trust factor, right?
Yes, yes.
Trust is key to any relationship. And so our children understanding that sneaking and lying can hurt more than the actual act of taking the cans.
Right, right. And the impact that it has on all relationships with the parents, with
Right.
the siblings, with the parent of the friends.
And honesty, especially about the small things, is are what build trust. It builds trust all the time. Like, but it only takes one act
Hmm.
to
Right, to
lose
mess it all
your
up.
privilege of having someone's trust
Right,
because people don't owe you their trust.
correct. It has to be earned.
And if we are not able to trust our kids, then we it bothers me. It bothers me because I'm big on trust. So if I can't trust you, you then no, you can't go to your friend's house.
Correct.
You
Right,
just showed that you don't have the ability to make good
right,
integrity-based decisions. And I don't care that you're 13. I don't
right,
care that you're 17. You did
right,
something that could have negative consequences on us as a family. If that kid gets drunk with you and then you guys go for a drive, that like, do you understand that they can come take my house? They can sue me because in this litigious society, do you understand
right,
the negative impact that this could have? What if she gets in the car and goes driving and then someone dies?
right. And
And I
unfortunately, that
know that
has
going to the
happened.
extreme is a lot, but it's not a
But
lot
no, it
when you work with
happens.
families where this
Right,
happens.
right, exactly. And just to give kind of like communication wording, in regards to parents having these conversations, or you should or feel prompted, hopefully, from listening to this to have that conversation. Um, and something that you can present and just have as a part of your continued communication with your child or talks is your behavior is showing me that you're not able to handle this level of freedom. The freedom
That's
that
what I'm
referring
hearing.
to is the aspect of when you say, Mom, Dad, can I go to such and such house? Can I go to the mall with blah, 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 or my group of friends? You have shown me that you have a hard time with doing the right thing, despite how you've been raised. So, as a
Yes.
result of that, I cannot trust that you will actually choose to do the right thing when you leave this house, when you're at the mall, when you're at a friend's house. And
Yep.
that is a natural consequence based off of the behaviors that you showed.
So let's talk about the consequences. Like, because I'm thinking definitely loss of privilege, right? Like there is no phone, no favorite activity, no after school stuff if you're a part of a team. And I know a lot of parents are like, don't punish the whole team because your child did something. Well, no, my child needs to be mindful of how the team is going to be impacted by what they do.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
having the mindset of like this is a loss of all privileges and you can connect the dots between your choices and your consequences. That would
Right.
be a smart thing. Um, but to not have any is not going to work, right? So, loss of privilege, what other consequences um, can can a mom, a parent, not because this is not about moms and daughters,
Moms,
it
but
just
just
happens to
parents in
be.
general.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are some other consequences that that they can implement?
Well, you can have the child apologize. Call
Facts.
those parents. Obviously, I won't say obviously because everybody thinks differently. So it would behoove the parent if the phone call was made from their phone. And it kind of goes back to that the parent acknowledging that my child brought something from your home, that it was not okay.
Right.
So I'm apologize on the behalf of my child because I'm the parent. But
Yeah.
within that, there is your child, your daughter, your son apologizing for their behavior and acknowledging
Absolutely.
specifically, not
Absolutely.
just I apologize, not just I'm sorry, being specific on their behavior that was not okay and the potential impact or the impact that it did have.
Got it.
Um, so go ahead.
I also say restitution because you're gonna give me my stuff back. Okay.
But yes,
You
yes.
gonna pay me for the inconvenience of having to go back to the store and drive back. You gonna reimburse my initial store run and back. You will
But yes, but I do. I
you
mean,
gonna
granted,
pay
we're
for my
referencing
drinks.
alcohol because of the story, but if there was damage done,
Mm-hmm.
there's fees associated with it. So if your child doesn't have an income, there's always something that needs to be done around the house.
Right. Because I don't want to hear
Oh,
you don't have money, right? Because we got currency in other ways around here.
right, right, right. And so, but also I would say going back to that the children of the child apologizing.
I was gonna say foot rubs, but go ahead.
Girl, you're so silly. But
I'm
also
sleepy.
with
I'm sorry.
that is apologizing to the friend. And I feel that's where it's going to the
The most.
hit the most, not figured, physically, but in regards to that emotional impact.
Hmm.
Because when it's to a parent, obviously it's uncomfortable, but when you have to say that to a friend,
Yeah,
it hits different.
it does.
And so,
As
and
it
also
should.
with as it should, and that's the lesson within that. We do things, we make decisions, but and as adults, hopefully we understand that every choice that we make does have an impact. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's mutual, but there is an impact.
Yeah.
And so this is the life lesson that you should be teaching your child.
And another consequence is that you got to sit here and listen to me talk about these life lessons. You're gonna have to sit here and listen to me talk about the rules and what happens when you break rules. And
You know
I'm gonna
another
get on
thing,
your nerves. I'm gonna talk slow. I'm gonna talk low, but you gonna listen.
but and we're chuckling, but it's more so reminiscing as being that we all been that child where we just had to listen, because we was doing stuff we weren't supposed to do, not necessarily to the
Right, with no
magnitude of
phone in your hand, no
right,
TV in the
right.
background, and I'm talking slow. You just gotta hear.
But with that, it's like also and granted the child doesn't and I'm because I'm preference this with the fact that it doesn't default mean that the child's an alcoholic. However, we already spoke to the fact that everybody's body responds differently to substances. Okay.
Yes.
So, as a parent, my child will be going to AA. She will be going to, yes, because what she needs to see is what one drink can do. What she needs to
Yes.
see
Because it
is
starts with
what that
one.
looks like in real
Yes.
life because
Yes.
it's scary.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Oh,
I
I
would
want
not have.
them to see the other kids that's actually their same age talking about what their experiences was and they all the things.
And if I could
And
say
with
this.
that, and just understand this as well as a parent, it's kind of like you're on punishment too. You can't be doing
Yeah.
all the things because who's supervising the child? Who's keeping the structure around the limited, consequence, if you will, reprimands that's in place. So you got to be there with her. You got
So
to be there with him.
some years ago, I was working with a group home, right? They had girls who were on probation. It was foster, but it was also probation, right? Um, and we were having a conversation about their introduction to drugs and alcohol, and all of them said their first introduction to alcohol was through a parent or an aunt or uncle, some sort of family member.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of the girls were talking about like how they became addicted, right? And how people would give them alcohol as a way to take if they're make them their defenses down so that they could take advantage of them. Okay.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what stuck with me is a young lady who was like, shoot, I was 10 when I was turning tricks for Smirnoff. And I
And you
remember
know that's back in the
being
day when you said Smirnoff, but I'm sorry. Um,
right.
anyways, I'm gonna put myself out there, but yes, I had a flashback.
Right. But it when you said like what you just said, it triggered that thought in me because so often we are just so lackadaisical, like, oh my God, it's a sign of the times. Times are different. These kids are different.
But alcohol
And
is still
if that's the
alcohol.
case, the alcohol is different.
And
If
it
that's the
is.
case, the alcohol is different. If the food has changed, our food doesn't taste the same. They don't have to tell us if it's cloned meat. I live in California where they have decided to take expiration dates off of food.
Oh,
So if they have done that with all the other stuff, do you not think
right.
that they won't be putting extra stuff? This even when we look at marijuana, this ain't Woodstock marijuana that's out here now. This is not the stuff that
It
the
is. It is
hippies
not.
were smoking. It's
It's
a
not.
different level of like the names of it. What Cat Williams said, it's called death, right? Like, the names of the stuff are even different. So, do you really think that that's not going on with alcohol? Do you really think? And when you can look at a pen, like
Hmm.
what's it, a dry erase marker,
Yeah.
and a lot of times these aren't dry erase markers. When you open them up, these are ways that kids can hide marijuana. So when you say it's a sign of the time, that is not permission to be lackadaisical. It is absolutely the necessity to be more diligent in our kids' lives.
Right. And consistent. And going through the things.
Yes.
If it
So
looks like
open
a
up a backpack.
USB, yeah, if it looks like a USB, well, go ahead and try to plug it into the computer or the laptop to see if it functions
Right,
like a
let's go see what's
USB.
on it. And the mindset that you're invading your child's privacy by doing this. First of all, I want to say you don't have privacy at my house. If
Correct.
you are a
And
visiting child, you don't have privacy at my house, right?
I agree. I
And
agree.
any rule that is my rule at my house, but it ain't the rule at your house, I do not care. And I've done that. Danielle, you know, I've listen, they she said that she's allowed to have a phone in the bathroom at your house to listen to her music while she showers. In my house though,
I
nothing with a
understand.
camera,
Yeah,
nothing with a camera is allowed in the
and I'm
bathroom.
okay with that. Right, exactly. But also the key factor of that is that communication.
Yes.
There
Because it's
has
not
to
easy to
be
call a
the
parent for something like
communication.
that.
Right, right.
But but it's my house. And we gonna do it like this because and I told my daughter, I might because I'm not always dressed when I'm working, right?
Right.
Sometimes I'm
As
working
many
from
of
the
us, okay?
bed. I sometimes I'm working from bed, but 11, 13, 17-year-old boobs come with police reports when they end up
They
on the
do.
internet.
And 12.
45-year-old boobs don't unless
You so stop.
somebody done hacked, right?
Not.
So
Really.
so for me, it's a totally different mindset. Now, hush. So, listen, dog trying to get in on the conversation. But for me, it's a totally different mindset because
Mhm.
what I accept and what I don't accept, a lot of parents are very much like, calm down. And I think that is so scary in
And
today's
it's
time.
unfortunate, and not to speak ill or put anything out there in regards to saying this happened to your child, but no, no, just speaking from the aspect of being a therapist for 15 plus years and hearing the unfortunate stories and working with the children and the families and the parents given the unfortunate circumstances.
Yes.
So, yes, there is that understanding that as your children get older, they're learning independence, or they should be, but also with that, you know your child. So you know
Yeah.
that level of maturity, you know that level of follow through or implementation in regards to as they get older. So the same, like the way that we parent, our parenting all my children, my husband and I had a realistic understanding on what each of our children was able and not able to do. And
Hmm.
we parented from that place for each child. And it's not for
Yes.
them to like because they're not the parents. They were not our friends. Okay. There go that effort in, right? So with that, be realistic and first of all, remember the fact that your child is a child. And you, as being the parent, is the teacher of life.
Come
So
on
if your
here.
child has seen or has been bold enough with her whole chest to put these cans in her jacket and say that she put them in there so she can look jacked. And for you to honestly not even question that, that in itself shows me as being a therapist that has worked with many parents, she knew you wasn't going to question it.
Right.
She knew it. Our kids try us every day. They just want to test it so they see how hot is it is. How hot is it today? See what we're working with.
Yeah.
Or it ain't never hot, so I kind of can really do what I want to do. So there has to be that accountability for the parent. Um, I was thinking of another reprimand or consequence or punishment, whatever word you want to put in there. But let me go back. Um, when a parent speaks to their child in regards to the impact it has on the parent-child relationship, I don't think a lot of parents do that. They
Hmm.
default go into they're upset. So the children are more concerned about their parent being upset, which is understandable. But
Right.
however, that's the only thing that they're concerned about because that's the only thing that the parents communicate. Or I wouldn't even say that. That's the only thing that they show. Whether they
Hmm.
cussing or they yelling, that's the only thing that they show. Specifically speak to the behaviors and how that makes you feel. Disappointed, let down,
Yeah.
sad. Speak to those because we all been at that age and we feel that our parents is like aliens and they don't know nothing and they don't feel nothing. Okay. So,
Not
but
aliens.
speaking aliens and they got no feelings, but speaking as a human parent,
Right.
say share and communicate with your child how her behaviors has made you feel infuriated,
Yeah.
enraged, confused, girl, because the audacity, right? So speaking to how has this have made you feel?
Yeah.
Is it like you about to say something?
I was thinking about like identifying the risks for our kids because sometimes their friendship circles are not good. And sometimes they are the negative influence in the friendship circle,
Right,
right?
right. It can be a give, unfortunately, but a realistic of all. Very true.
And I think that we have to be more involved. And I know someone who is like a single parent working a lot of hours just to keep a roof over their head. They're like, how when do I have time? Right? Like, because that's a lot. It's very time consuming to be on
It
top of
is.
everything your child is doing. But it's
It
something
is.
about them pop-up visits that keep our kids on their toes.
Right.
It's something about that. Give me the phone
Right.
and,
There
and
you
keeping
go.
that phone for a couple of
Mm-hmm.
hours that keeps our
Mm-hmm.
kids on their toes. There is
Right.
something about showing up to the school, something about, going through the call log that keeps them on their toes. So even if you
Right.
cannot do it repeatedly, often, whatever,
Right.
can you do it enough? Can it be sporadic enough where there's no pattern so that your
Right.
kids understand my parent is likely to see any of this and there will be consequences? Can we?
Right.
It's just following through with the consequences is also another thing that is super
Very
important that a
important.
lot of people do not do. You have to follow through
Yeah. Because when
because
it
when our
becomes an
kids,
inconvenience, that's when they kind of, and it's
yes,
like, but punishment and consequences are not convenient. It's supposed to be inconvenient.
right, and it's gonna inconvenience you. Anytime I put my
Correct.
daughter
That's
on
what I'm saying.
punishment, I'm on
They will
punishment
be on
too.
punishment as well. Right. Right.
Because who else she got? You understand what I'm saying? Like where she would
Right.
normally where I could just relax and take some time for myself. If she's on punishment, she's coming in with me. So in that regard, it can feel like, dang, like, let me just go ahead. No, follow through on your consequences.
Yes. Yes.
Hold their feet to the fire. And I think that so often we have a tendency to let other people talk us out of those consequences and, oh, just, okay, that's enough. That's enough. No, it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Comfortable. Right.
It's supposed to make her say, I'm never doing this again.
Right. And
She's
also
so,
keeping,
go ahead, go
oh,
ahead, go ahead.
I was like, but also keep in mind as being the parent, you are presenting, or don't say presenting, giving consequences, but from a place of love. The real
Right.
world is not.
And frustration and anger. Yeah, we can add those to
Right.
that love. Yeah. But
Right. But the real world is not.
right.
So to be able to provide a negative a consequence or reprimand and implement that for your child from a place of I'm your mom, I'm your dad, and I'm doing this because I love you and I care for you, but I'm trying to teach you a lesson. That's not the perspective of the world. You're gonna
Yeah.
get what you get.
Facts.
And it don't make it right or okay, but that we all know that's how the world works. So if you don't follow through as a parent in regards to the consequence, it's okay because the world will.
Facts.
Then that's another stressor that you have to worry about a year later or ongoing throughout their adulthood.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Listen,
yes,
I gave all mine in them first 2 minutes. What is wrong? But you asked for strategic strategies. And so if I had anything else to add, I would say be on top of it and stop allowing yourself to be dismissive of your daughter's bad behavior.
if you're saying that you're not, you were. And there's that. Hmm.
We said it. Because
Yeah.
we said that was true. It's true. Hmm.
Yeah. Respectfully. There you go.
From her.
Well,
From me, it's very disrespectfully.
well, you got the no, actually that was very respectfully because I haven't seen it. But anyways, but
You saw me take
hopefully,
that sip of water first.
but on a serious note, I hope whoever wrote in that you take this to heart because as a parent, there are life lessons that come for your juggler, okay? In
Hmm.
regards to our children, they be coming with the foolery. So don't get us wrong, we do understand that, but it is very important to remember what your role is as an adult. And
Yes.
it seems like you forgot or you just didn't know because you had your good experience at 13. Don't let that cloud your judgment.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna go. And I'm
Until
gonna
we
send
meet
you a
again.
link to this video. I'm gonna send you a link to this because I want to
Yes.
make sure that you see it.
Yes.
But if
Mm-hmm.
you would like to write into us, do so at therealonparenting@gmail.com. Happy to address anything with you. All right, we out. We will see y'all next week. Thank you for joining us right here on KCCR Brownstone Worldwide. We are just We're in a whole new season. I
Yeah.
don't think we acknowledge that. We're in a whole new season, and
Mhm.
this is awesome. I really love doing this with you,
Too. And I love
girl.
doing it with the parents, to just get the information out there as well.
Yes. All right. So we're gonna hang up, y'all. We will see you in the next episode of The Real on Parenting. In the meantime, until we meet again, drink your water, eat your vegetables, take your vitamins, and mind your business. Good night.